Hello and welcome to 404 Mystery Found. Tonight we're going to talk about the Yuba County Five, a case where 5 young men with intellectual disabilities vanished after a basketball game in 1978. So get comfortable, and before we start, comment below with the time you normally listen to our audio stories. Also, liking and subscribing this video will help us out a long way. Thank you very much. Let us begin the Yuba County Five, the Forest of Broken Logic. Act 1, The Vanishing, a chronicle in real time. To understand the profundity of this mystery, we must not just recount it, we must inhabit it. We must feel the texture of that February night in 1978. Let's slow down time and walk through it minute by agonizing minute. February 24th, 1978, 6:30 p.m. Marysville, California. The Stark Club is a modest, single-story building, a haven. Inside, the air smells of coffee and waxed linoleum. The 5 men are among friends. Staff member Linda Kay recalls the mood saying, "They were excited, but normal excited. Like kids going to a game. Ted showed me his new watch, a Timex with a brown leather band. He was so proud. Bill had the car keys out, jingling them. Jack Madruga kept checking his own watch, making sure they wouldn't be late. They were meticulous about time." End quote. They pile into Bill Sterling's 1969 Mercury Monterey. It's a boat of a car, pale blue, with a V8 engine. Bill is proud of it. He keeps it immaculate. Gary Mathias takes the front passenger seat. Ted, Jack Madruga, and Jack Hewitt climb in the back. They have $40 between them, a significant sum, mostly in small bills and change. They pull out of the parking lot at 6:45 p.m. sharp. The drive to Chico State is roughly an hour and 15 minutes. The route head north on Highway 70, then cut onto the Oroville-Quincy Highway. Highway 162, a winding mountain road that follows the Feather River Canyon. It's a clear, cold night. No rain, no snow in the forecast. 8 p.m, Chico State University Gymnasium. The game is between Chico State and UC Davis. It's a packed, loud crowd. Usher Robert T. remembers the group and said, "They sat in the bleachers to the left of the scoreboard. The tall, quiet one. Ted, he bought a hot dog, the one with the intense eyes. Gary, he just watched the game, didn't cheer much. The other Jack kept stats on a napkin. They seemed happy, normal." End quote. The game ends around 9:50 p.m. Chico State wins. The crowd spills out into the chilly night. 10:05 p.m. Chico State parking lot. Witnesses see the 5 men walking to the Mercury. They are laughing. Jack Madruga is replaying a key play with his hands. They get in the car. Bill starts the engine. The headlights cut through the dark as they pull onto the road toward Oroville. 10:30 p.m. The 7-Eleven on Oro-Dam Boulevard, Oroville. This is the last confirmed sighting. Clark Marcy L., age 19, is working the night shift. Clark said, "They came in all at once. The bell on the door jingled like crazy. They were still amped up from the game. One bought a bag of Fritos, another got a Pepsi. They were talking about the drive home. The driver, Bill, he asked me if the road to Marysville was clear. I said, yeah, it's fine. He paid with a $5 bill. I gave him change. They left. I watched the blue car pull onto the highway and turn south toward home." End quote. This is the pivot point, the last moment of normalcy. The turn onto Oro-Dam Boulevard south would have taken them directly to Highway 70, the main artery home. The drive should have taken 45 minutes. 11:30 p.m. The Sterling residence, Marysville. Bill's mother, Margaret Sterling, begins to worry. The game has been over for an hour and a half. The drive isn't that long. She calls Ted Wyer's house. His mother hasn't heard from him either. By midnight, a network of phone calls connects all 5 families. A low hum of anxiety begins. February 25th, 2 a.m. The families contact the Marysville Police Department. The officer on duty logs it as a missing persons overdue. His assumption, car trouble. He suggests they call around to gas stations. The families do nothing. Dawn, February 25th. The fear crystallizes into terror. These were not irresponsible teenagers. These were men of routine. Bill Sterling, in particular, was fanatical about punctuality and letting his mother know his plans. Their absence is a screaming alarm. The official search begins. The California Highway Patrol dispatches cruisers to patrol Highway 70 and the Oroville-Quincy Highway. They look for skid marks, breakdowns, a blue Mercury in a ditch. The search is a visual from the road. The vast forested mountainsides rising from the highway are not yet considered. The assumption is still they are on or near the road, but the road yields nothing. It is as if the Mercury, with its 5 occupants, achieved liftoff and vanished into the cold night sky. Act 2. The car, a cache of contradictions. 4 days of searching pass. The media picks up the story. 5 developmentally disabled men vanish. The public imagines a tragic accident, a plunge into one of the deep reservoirs. Search teams drag parts of Lake Oroville. Nothing. Then, on the morning of March 1st, Joseph Shons, a gruff, experienced US Forest Service worker, is clearing snow from Forest Service Road 120N33. This is not a road. It's a rugged track used for logging and fire access. It is 20 miles east of the Oroville-Quincy Highway and 4,000 feet higher in elevation. The snow here is several feet deep. It is a place you only go if you have a specific, deliberate purpose. Sean sees the blue shape in the drifts. He approaches on foot. The car is parked, not crashed. It is neatly situated just off the narrow track, pointing back the way it came, as if someone intended to turn around. The driver's side windows rolled down about an inch. Frost crystals line the gap. He peers inside. Adopting Sean's perspective, quoted, "The first thing I saw was the bag on the front seat. A 7-Eleven bag, with a bag of chips and a soda cup inside. Untouched. Then I saw the keys in the ignition. I tried the door. Unlocked. I opened it. The interior light didn't come on. The battery was dead. It was cold, deathly cold inside. I saw the wallets on the dashboard. I opened one. There was money. I saw a nice watch on the dash too. That's when I got a real bad feeling. Who leaves all this? Who walks away from a car in this?" End of quote. The discovery sends a shockwave. This is not a simple accident. The car is found in a location that is geographically and logically absurd. To get here from Oroville, Bill Sterling would have had to drive past the turn for Highway 70, the way home. Continue east on the Oroville-Quincy Highway for another 12 miles. Make a sharp, easy-to-miss turn onto a narrow, unmarked uphill Forest Service road. Drive 8 more miles up this steep, winding, snow-covered track in the dark. Park neatly. This is not a wrong turn. This is a deliberate, navigated journey into the absolute middle of nowhere. Forensic examination of the car adds layers of mystery. The gas tank. It was bone dry. The Mercury had a 20-gallon tank. The drive from Marysville to Chico to Oroville and up to this point would have used about 12 gallons. The car should have had a quarter tank left. Did it idle for hours, draining the tank? Or was it driven in circles? The engine. It was in good condition, no mechanical failure. The interior. No signs of violence, no blood. The seats were damp from melted snow off the men's shoes. The map found on the floor was a standard state map. The circle drawn around Challenge was in blue ballpoint pen. The ink matched a pen found in the glove compartment. The circle was precise, not a frantic scribble. The personal effects. This is the greatest contradiction. 5 wallets, containing a total of roughly $30. Ted Wyer's prized Timex watch. Bill Sterling's beloved Zippo lighter. These were not just valuables, they were personal treasures. Abandoning them made no psychological sense. The prevailing theory of panic begins to crack. Panicked people don't neatly park cars. They don't leave their wallets and watches behind. They don't forget a bag of food in a survival situation. The car was not a scene of chaos. It was a scene of eerie, deliberate abandonment. It was a locked room mystery, with the doors left wide open. Act 3. The cabin, a house of horrors and hidden clues. The discovery of the car redirected the search to the surrounding wilderness. The terrain is brutal, steep wooded slopes cut by deep ravines, all under 2 to 3 feet of snow. Searchers on snowshoes move in a grid pattern, calling out the men's names. Their voices are swallowed by the vast, silent forest. On March 4th, searcher Tom O'Connor finds the first footprint. It's not in a trail, it's a single, isolated impression. In a small clearing, 200 yards from the car, the print is from a standard work boot. It points toward the thickest part of the forest, away from any road or trail. Next to it, O'Connor finds a single crumpled cigarette packet. A brand Bill Sterling smoked. This is the first breadcrumb. It suggests the men left the car on foot, together, and entered the forest. The tracks, when more are found, tell a terrible story. They are not the tracks of men walking. They are shuffles, staggers, and falls. The stride length is short and irregular. In places, the impressions are deep, as if the person knelt or sat down in the snow and struggled to get up. This is the gait of severe hypothermia, where the body's core temperature drops, causing confusion, loss of coordination, and paradoxical behaviour like undressing. The trail leads up a punishing slope for over a mile, and at the top, hidden among towering ponderosa pines, is the Forest Service cabin. It's a simple one-room structure built from rough-hewn logs, used by fire patrols in the summer. In winter it's shuttered and locked, or it should be. The door is ajar. Inside, the scene is a psychological puzzle box. The wood stove. Ashes are inside. They are cold. Forensic analysis determines a fire was lit and burned for approximately 4 to 6 hours, roughly 8 to 12 weeks prior. Someone knew how to start a fire. The food supply. The cabin was stocked with emergency provisions, a standard Forest Service cache. There were large, unopened tins of Army surplus beef, beans and peaches, a 20-pound bag of rice, packets of dried milk. All of it remained on the shelves, untouched. But on the small table, searchers found 2 empty tin cans. They had been opened with the cabin's manual can opener, which was left on the table. The cans were licked clean. They were not the beef or peaches from the supply. They were smaller, older cans of pork and beans that had been left behind by previous occupants. They were likely covered in dust. This detail is catastrophic. It means whoever was in the cabin ate the least accessible, least appetizing food first, ignoring the obvious plentiful supply. This is a hallmark of advanced hypothermia or psychotic delirium, the inability to execute simple, logical sequences. The bedding. In a cupboard there were 6 woolen army surplus blankets still in their plastic wrappers. They were never opened. But on the floor, in the corner farthest from the door, they found Ted Wire. He was wrapped, mummy-like, in 8 separate bed sheets that had been torn into long strips. The sheets came from the cabin's bunk beds. They were filthy and damp. Ted was wearing only his corduroy pants and socks. His feet were black with frostbite. On the floor beside him was an empty box of wooden matches. The coroner's report is harrowing. Ted had survived in the cabin for 8 to 13 weeks. He died of starvation and hypothermia. His body showed signs of having moved around the cabin in his final days, crawling perhaps. But he never opened the food. He never opened the blankets. He used his last fading cognitive function to perform a bizarre, ritualistic act, tearing sheets and wrapping himself, instead of taking the simple step of unwrapping a blanket. Outside, the discoveries grow grimmer. Jack Madruga and Bill Sterling are found under a lone pine tree, a quarter-mile apart. They are curled in fetal positions. Their clothing is dishevelled but present. They died of exposure, likely within the first 48 hours. Jack Hewitt is found a mile away at the bottom of a 60-foot ravine. He had a broken femur and pelvis. He crawled a short distance before succumbing. His death was slower, more agonising. And then there is the final, overarching clue: Gary Mathias's medication. Gary took stelazine, an antipsychotic. A full 1-month supply bottle was found in the car. It was untouched. He had not taken his medication since at least the day of the game. This fact changes everything. Gary was the most physically capable, but he was operating without the chemical balance that kept him stable. In the cold, under stress, in the dark, his mind could have been constructing realities the others could not see. Act 4. The Theories, a labyrinth with no exit. For over 4 decades, investigators, psychologists, and amateur sleuths have wrestled with this case. Each theory explains some facts and is demolished by others. Let's walk this labyrinth. Theory A: the mass hysteria breakdown. This is the most complex psychological model. It proposes that a trigger event, a flat tire, getting stuck in snow, caused a shared psychotic breakdown, fueled by Gary's unmedicated state. In this folie à plusieurs, Gary may have become a paranoid leader, convincing the others they were being pursued or that they had to reach a safe place. Challenge: the group, trusting him and susceptible to suggestion in a stressful, unfamiliar environment, followed. Their collective judgment collapsed. They performed the series of irrational, ritualistic acts we see: abandoning the car, walking into a blizzard, ignoring supplies. This explains the internal consistency of their illogical actions. They were following a new shared logic born of psychosis. Theory B: the malicious third party. Perhaps they were followed from the game. A person or persons harassed them, ran them off the road, and forced them up the mountain. This could explain the deliberate drive to the remote location. The perpetrators may have taken Ted's watch as a trophy, then left the men to die, assuming the wilderness would cover the crime. This theory is favoured by the families. It provides an external villain, a reason for the irrational journey. But it falters on the method. Murder by exposure is slow, unreliable, and leaves living witnesses. And the untouched valuables in the car contradict a robbery motive. Theory C: the ultimate wrong turn. The follow the lights. Hypothesis: a more benign but tragic version. What if after the 7-Eleven, Bill Sterling did miss the turn for Highway 70? Continuing east on the Oroville-Quincy Highway, they'd eventually see lights, not of Marysville, but of the small remote mining town of Forbestown. To reach those lights, they'd need to turn onto the very Forest Service road where the car was found. They drive up, the car gets stuck in deepening snow, and they abandon it, intending to walk toward the lights of Forbestown, which are actually visible from that ridge. But in the dark, disoriented, they walk in the opposite direction, north into deeper wilderness, toward the cabin. This explains the drive and the initial direction. It does not explain why they would leave the car with all their belongings, or the specific weeks-long ordeal of Ted in the cabin. Theory D, the supernatural intrusion. In the realm of local legend, the area is known for strange phenomena. The Ben Lomond mountain area has UFO sighting reports from the 1970s. Could the men have seen something, lights in the sky, that they followed? Could an external, inexplicable force have induced a state of shared confusion or paralysis of will? This theory is, by definition, untestable, but it persists because the men's actions so thoroughly defy normal human survival instinct. It provides a cosmic why for the broken logic. The evidence that fits nowhere. 1. The waitress sighting. The unverified claim that a Ted lookalike was seen weeks later 50 miles away. If true, it shatters the timeline. 2. The challenge circle. Who drew it? Why was it drawn before they left or in the car that night? Challenge was a known destination for none of them. 3. The matches. Ted had matches. He lit a fire. Why only one fire? Why not keep it going for warmth for weeks? 4. Gary's disappearance. The lack of any remains is statistically bizarre. Animals scatter remains, but they leave evidence. Bones, teeth, fabric. Nothing has ever been found. This case is not a puzzle missing a piece. It is a puzzle where every piece seems to be from a different box. The human pieces, the environmental pieces, and the evidence pieces refuse to form a coherent picture. Act 5. The Echo. A legacy of cold questions. Today the forest has reclaimed the physical scars. The cabin is gone, dismantled. The stretch of road where the Mercury was found is just another quiet forest track. But the mystery is a living thing. The families of the Yuba County Five have passed away, their grief unanswered. Gary Mathias's stepfather died in the 1990s, still searching, still convinced his stepson was out there, alive but lost in his own mind. Modern forensic psychologists revisit the case as a textbook example of group psychology under extreme stress. Survival instructors use it as a dark lesson in how the mind can betray the body. And every few years, a hiker or a hunter in the Plumas National Forest will report finding an old rusted can or a piece of cloth, and for a moment the cold case heats up. The items are never related. The forest keeps its last secret. Perhaps the true horror of the Yuba County Five is not in the grotesque details, but in the profound alienation it represents. These 5 men, who relied on routine and each other for stability, were suddenly severed from all frames of reference, geographic, social, logical. They were plunged into a literal and metaphorical wilderness where every anchor was gone. In that void, their minds and their environment conspired to create a tragedy of infinite regress, a series of decisions that each seemed to make sense in the moment, but that collectively formed a staircase leading directly down into the frozen dark. We look at their choices and say, I would never do that. But the terrifying truth the forest whispers back is, you don't know. You can't know. Until you are standing in the snow, in the dark with your mind unravelling, you cannot know what you would do. the Yuba County Five did not just vanish. They performed a slow-motion disappearance from reality itself, step by a logical step, leaving behind a trail that maps not a journey through space, but a dissolution of the self. It is a map we can follow with our eyes, but one we will never, ever understand. This had been the Yuba County Five, the Forest of Broken Logic by 404 Mystery Found. Don't forget to like and subscribe, it would mean the world. Thank you for listening.